Let's get more on this then, and we cross to our correspondent in London, Laura Makin Isherwood. Good day to you, Laura. Let's start by talking about how this news has been received really by those in London, in the UK at large, and certainly what has been said in Parliament.
Yeah, well, I think everybody was thinking that Liz Truss might be on borrowed time, but this announcement this morning that she was going to be leaving, stepping down as Prime Minister, does appear to have been made quite quickly. Just yesterday, we heard her in Parliament saying that she was a fighter, not a quitter. She'd also maintained in interviews that she was going to lead the Conservatives into the next general election, whenever that may be, but at the moment it is billed for a couple of years' time. And then all of a sudden, it appears that there's been a change of heart, or perhaps her hand has been forced, and she's decided to step down. We saw the chair of the 1922 committee, Sir Graham Brady, heading into Downing Street earlier today. He met with Liz Truss, and clearly there were some conversations that took place there. After that, of course, that lectern that we're used to seeing outside Downing Street when big announcements are going to be made, that was set up. And Liz Truss made this statement on those steps. It wasn't that long, but it set out that she was going to stand down, that a new leader of the Conservative Party will be elected in a very short time period, and that she was clear that her pledge to deliver a low-tax economy clearly wasn't going to happen because she didn't have the mandate to deliver it. And it comes, of course, after weeks and weeks of turbulence. She's been in post for just 45 days, but within that, it has been such a bumpy ride for Liz Truss. She delivered that low tax plan to Parliament. She wanted to set out a budget that had sweeping tax cuts. We saw the economy then struggle to deal with that. The market's reacting quite negatively. She sacked her former Chancellor. She hired a new one. And then in the last 24 hours, we've seen the Home Secretary also resign, handing in her resignation to the Prime Minister over what appears to be a breach of the ministerial code, sending an email from a private email address rather than her official one. And then, of course, we've also had to deal with these claims that Conservative MPs were actually manhandled in Parliament last night in a bid for the Conservative Party to get them to vote in the way that they want to. The Conservative Party have denied that any wrongdoing has taken place, but an investigation is now underway. It has been an absolutely chaotic 24 hours.
Yeah, and, she mentioned there in the clip that we just played here that, she'll obviously be awaiting the Conservative Party to then choose or elect a new Prime Minister. Do we at this stage have any idea who that would be? And in fact, I was looking at social media, and there were some suggestions, in fact, that they could possibly bring back Boris Johnson himself. And I wonder, is that even a possibility?
I mean, that's been the speculation for a while, that actually Boris Johnson was going to be leaving government and then come back, rise from the ashes and to take over again. I don't think that that would be a credible situation given the sort of chaos and controversy that he caused in his time in Parliament and in number 10 as well. Of course, remember that Partygate scandal, and he left on what was pretty embarrassing a note as well. So we're now waiting to find out which MPs, which ministers might want to throw their hat into the ring and vie for that leadership position. We know already that the new Chancellor, Jeremy Hunt, is saying that he won't run for that position. He's already tried to get that top job a couple of times before and been beaten in leadership elections. We've got a couple of other potential names banding around as well. Rishi Sunak, of course, he came second to Liz Truss when they were both competing for the job most recently. He may well consider that. We've also got Penny Mordaunt. We've seen her stand in for Liz Truss over the last few weeks when she hasn't been available to speak in Parliament, and she's obviously another female. Perhaps that's a way that people want to offer some sort of diversity and equality there as well, possibly a very viable candidate. But we understand that this contest might be sewn up by next Friday. That's certainly what the 1922 committee want to play out. They want that leadership contest to take place for Conservative Party members to have a say as well. And that has to be quite important here, because remember, it was Conservative Party members who decided Liz Truss should be the one in number 10. But let's see what happens, because at the moment, there's a lot to play for Conservative MPs and, of course, for the country as well.
Yeah, you know, a lot of talk about the time. I mean, the fact that she'd only been in office a couple of days. I think that they put the number at 45 days, and that being some sort of a record. I had been listening to some sort of conversations and debates about Liz Truss's future on UK television, and one political commentator was saying that she, in fact, should step down, and the response was that, you know, give her a chance. Maybe there's something more she can do. Was there no willingness, you know, to actually give her a chance? I mean, 45 days is I mean, it's unbelievable.
It is. It is the shortest time for a UK Prime Minister to be serving, to be in number 10. You can't really achieve much in 45 days, or you didn't think so. But then clearly Liz Truss has had such an impact on her party in that short time, such an impact on the UK economy as well, that clearly the feeling was among MPs in Parliament that this simply could not go on. Just yesterday, we'd heard that around 100 Conservative MPs, that is Liz Truss's own party, saying that they would be publicly willing to say that they had no confidence in her. So despite the sort of general rules that are set out by the Conservative Party that a new Prime Minister should be safe for an entire year, clearly she has had such an impact in the last 6 weeks that they've decided that something has to be done. If she can't lead credibly to be a UK figurehead, if you like, if I can call her that, then the party has sensed that something needs to be done to remove her from post. We know from opinion polls that Labour, the opposition party, have been gaining massively. And the suspicion is that if a general election was called, so the entire public were able to vote on who they wanted to be the leader of the United Kingdom, Labour may well win. And so now we get this sense that the Conservatives are trying to work out a way to remain in power, to find somebody who will be credible, to unite the party and bring them together and be popular with the public to avoid them being ousted from power. It's a very tricky time for them. And of course, Labour are saying that they want a general election now, that the public need to be the ones to actually decide who is in number 10. But at the moment, it's the Tories that hold the reins.
All right, Laura Makin Isherwood, we certainly do appreciate that, giving us, of course, an update of what's going on, of course, in London and, you know, in the UK at large, really, as, of course, so we get those news coming in that Liz Truss, after 45 days in office, has indeed then stepped down.